The bids are in, the gavel's dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast taking all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. I am Jeff McGurn with WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul Walker, the Monsignor of Meursault, our wine expert. Welcome to the podcast, Paul. Today, we're going to be talking about
Thank you, Jeff.
France. Okay, and let's jump right into it. And I'm gonna sort of preface this all with the stuff we talk about is just a fraction of what's actually in auction this week, because we can only get to so many things. And there's oftentimes things that come to auction after we have the podcast because stuff can trickle in throughout the week. So check our podcast blog page. Watch for emails, and then usually we also send out a link that's just got a list of everything that we've picked, even if we didn't get the chance to mention it in the podcast. And then oftentimes the other thing is Paul will mispronounce names of producers in France, and so you won't be able, it won't be clear to you what it actually is. So that's why it's really good to have that list to cross-reference.
I do have to repeat producer names and vineyard names quite often so that at least it sounds like we might know a fraction of what we're talking about, So anyway,
Paul's getting better with his pronunciation of French. But
I would say you're getting better. You're getting a lot. I'm getting better with my German. I'm getting better with my German.
I'm really trying. No, your German actually is getting better. I'm kind of impressed. Not really. We're going to jump right in.
Let's see how you do with France today.
Okay, 2014 Domaine de la Romani Conti Corton Magnum for $5,000. I thought it was cool to see a DRC Magnum. We don't see those a ton, so it's always neat to see those. We have a ton of DRC coming into auction this week, or that's coming up.
Yeah, there's quite a bit.
There's so much. There's Corton Magnum. There's in the 14, 17 Corton, 2020, 3 bottle lot OWC of Corton Charlemagne, 07 Echezot, 09 Echezot, 17 Echezot, 09 Grands Echezot, 2020 Grands Echezot. I mean, there's a gold. If you like DRC and you want to buy DRC, this is a great week to buy DRC because there's a ton of DRC at auction. There's a bunch of Domaine Loire as well. We've got a lot of Domaine Loire coming in. 96 Clos de la Roche, 96 Clos de Vergeot, 96. I mean, there's kind of a horizontal vertical of Loire, it seems like, from 1996. But there's a bunch of Loire coming into auction. Going back into single bottles, I thought the bottle of 11 Coche de Riz Meursault for $930 was interesting. Boy, that's gotten up there. 1996 Domaine Georges Rumier Bonmar for $1985. Oof, that is a little bit of cash for that one. 17 Montgard Muret Grands Echezot for $270. That actually didn't strike me as overly crazy. 18 Francois Ravenot Chablis Blanchot for $570. We've got 2 of those. And then we've got an 18 Francois Ravenot Chablis Forêt, which already has a bid on it, taking it from $265 to $275. Well,
yeah, it seems quite reasonable next to all the other Ravenot because they're all a couple $100 more.
Right. Of course, people are going for the Forêt. They're like, yeah, it's half price.
Yeah, exactly. Blanchot is twice as much. Yeah, Monte Tonnerre is, twice as much or more. Yeah. It's
and did you see the 98 Francois Ravenot Chablis Valmeur for $720?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that one was
18 at $580. So yeah, that's what's happened to Ravenot. It's wild.
It's expensive. 19 Pierre Yves Colin Moret Nuit Saint Georges Magnum for $200. I actually thought that wasn't a bad price for a Magnum of Colin Moret Nuit.
Yeah, I mean, we'll say that the Pierre Yves Colin Moret Magnums are interesting in that, and he's not specifically known. It's obviously much more well-known for Meursault, but I'm sure they're fantastic. They probably need quite a few years, I would imagine, especially in larger format. So there's also 18 Narvaux from Colin Moret for $260, which should be great, probably in a couple of years.
07 Domaine des Montiers Pommard Les Pézerolles for $90.
Pézerolles. Yeah, you can just say Pézerolles.
Pézerolles. 2017 Jean-Noel Guinard, Bâtard Montrachet for 550. Oof. And then the last one I had on my list that I'm keeping an eye on.
Jean Gagnard.
Gagnard, yeah. The 1993 Domaine de l'Arlot, Von Romani Le Succote, has 4 bids taking it from 95 to 221. Do you think that one might have been slightly undervalued?
Wait, what's the wine? Arlo Susho? You say Susho?
No, Domaine de l'Arlot. L'Arlot.
Yeah. Right. I got that.
Yeah.
The 93 Susho.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a rare one. It's probably wasn't repriced since it was last in auction. That's my guess. Also has a cult following. So
yeah,
that's going to go up. That's going to go up quite.
It was last in auction in 2008 and sold for $80. So
yeah, it just kind of snuck in at the old price. So the market will take it because it's no secret.
beauty of the market. So let's what did I miss here on the Burgundy side, Paul?
Bear with me since my connection is like dial up from the 90s here, it seems like. But Bonne de Martre, Corton Charlemagne, Mini, skipped Virgil 15, 17, and 20. There's some Camille Rude wines in, which I thought were quite reasonable. They're delicious stuff. Daniel Etienne Dufay Chablis Vaillant, I thought was a great deal for the 05. It's got a bid, looks like at 46. The Echezot 17 for 180, I thought quite reasonable. Let's see. There's some 17 Heights Le Chardé Meursault Perrier for 150. I didn't think was terrible. A little bottle of 16 Lamy, Hubert Lamy snuck in. The Saint-Domingue Chez Edouard Cuvée Haute for 500, which is quite a serious price. There's some 17, 19, and 21 Lafleur, as well as 2020. Crazy prices there, starting at 920 for those, going up. A bunch of Ponceau in this week, including the Claude Laroche Vieille Vigne from 08 and 16 other vintages. There's some Vincent Dancer, if you will. Chassagne Monchaux, and let's see, one bottle that stuck out to me. I know it's a very challenging vintage, but there's a 2011 Folin Arbelay Romani Saint Vivant for 245. I've read about this producer quite a bit. I've been interested in tasting these wines. I don't know them at all, and I thought that for Romani Saint Vivant, which is extremely sought after, and extremely expensive, 245 for this wine didn't seem terrible. So that one was kind of a surprise and stuck out to me. A bunch of Freddie Mouillet wines in this week. Well, a bunch, meaning a handful of bottles. You don't see too many one time, but there's Chambon-Musigny Village, there's Les Amoureuses, there's Chambon-Musigny 32, which I actually was unfamiliar with. I hadn't seen that label before. And there's Musigny and Nuit Saint-Georges Clos la Maréchal as well for the more entry-level price at 135. O2 Jadot Bunmar caught my eye. Didn't seem terrible at 370. If you want to bring like a fun bottle for New Year's of very fresh and crisp Aligoté, there's a Patrick Pius Magnum 1953, whatever that means. It's from 2021, I should say, but it's got 1953 on the label. $50 for that. So didn't think that was bad at all. Along the same lines, there's a Magnum of Moissonnet Pernod for $91. I thought was a great deal, especially for a little white burgundy. So some René Engel wines snuck in this week, which I thought was also kind of curious that they're the same price. The Echezot is $15.50 and the Von Romani Brûlé is $15.50. So for my money, I'd go for the Echezot, but that's just me. Some Catillard, which is in France right now, but will be in the US, I believe, April next year. There's also Von Romani 18 and 17, Von Romani Malcor. Some Thierry Pillot Meursault Charme for 155, winemaker at Paul Pillot. Seems like every couple of weeks we see this Vincent Duray Gential Rouilly, but this week it's their sixth Mex Cadeau 130. So big serious following for these wines. They're not cheap, but fun to see. I'd love to try one of those one day. We should have grab on.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
I mean,
just fantastic lineup of Bernie this week. So at all ranges, all price ranges.
We've only got about 10 minutes left of the podcast. Let's try and blow through Bordeaux, shall we? Interestingly enough,
okay, let's do
there
it.
was less Bordeaux coming into auction this week than there was Burgundy. So
there's still some in questions, though. Even so,
there's some really cool stuff. 73 Mouton for $480. I thought was interesting. 96 3-liter of Latour already has a bid on it, taking it from 2,800 to 2,900. Woo! That's going to be a cool.
Yeah, that's an awesome wine, and that's a fantastic format. You drink it now, or you can drink it in 20 years, no problem.
By the way, going back to the 73 Mouton.
Yeah, that's a kind of interesting pick because that's a challenging vintage.
Do you know why? Do you know why I picked it?
No, I don't.
That was 73 was the year Mouton got upgraded to first growth.
Oh, to first growth. Okay.
It was also the year that Pablo Picasso passed away. And so the label is, I believe, just sort of a tribute or homage to Pablo Picasso.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think that it's not, like you said, it's not the greatest vintage, but it is sort of a historical bottle that a story behind it. I thought the 75 Petrus was interesting at 2,100, 45 Cheval Blanc at 3,500. Like there's some.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention this bottle because I actually picked this up myself from the owner who's selling it. And it was purchased, I believe, from the Rare Wine Co. It says that it's, purchased from a Northern California retailer. But yeah, this wine was reconditioned as well. And it states that on the label about it being reconditioned. But yeah, it's an amazing shape. There's also a bottle of 1916 La Mission from the same collection. That Latour 3-liter as well. It's from the same collection. So some great Bordeaux that I just picked up a couple of weeks ago. That's in this week.
Some phenomenal Bordeaux. 1990 Dechem for $340. I was like, that's actually a phenomenal deal for a Dechem.
That's one of my favorite wines like they ever made. I haven't had all vintages, of course, but that's nice, just amazing.
I think you mentioned that 1916 La Maison Aubryon.
Yeah. So it appears to recondition. Kelly, our lauded inspector, mentioned to me that the cork it's quite sort of rigid, or I should say sharp at the base, which indicates that it was probably recorked at some point. It doesn't state that on the bottle, but it's almost certainly the case because it's filled into the neck. So he added the note that it was most likely at some point. But again, I believe this came from Ware Wine Co. In case anyone's curious.
09 Chateau Smith Eau Lafitte for $215. We have 4 of those.
They're 100-pointer, I think, right?
Yeah. We have 2 bids on a 15 La Conscience, taking it from 155 to 175.
Yeah, see that seems reasonable to me. Like great vintage and not expensive, right? I mean the older stuff is like easily twice that. So
and La Conscience is just a phenomenal producer.
Great wines. I feel like the 15 at that price, it's going to be double that in just a few years. I wouldn't doubt it.
I agree with you. Like, I think there's a lot of room for that wine to grow because it is undervalued. Like there's tremendous value in that wine.
Yeah. I mean, just look at, the 90 and 89, just look at old vintages of it and you'll see.
They go, there's tremendous appreciation. And I think that like, it's also just underappreciated as Chateau. And I think as time goes on, it will get more and more appreciated. That's my personal opinion, because I appreciate it more and more every time I drink it. It's like, wow, this is so good.
Yeah.
Like when we had that 90.
90. Yeah. 90s. Phenomenal wine. No, it's and it was good, 15 years ago. It was amazing. So
it's just great today. 15 Pape Clement for 90. I actually thought that was a good deal.
I was kind of surprised. I was like, this seems to be very reasonable. These like, mid-teens from the 2000s wines they're not going to last at this price.
No,
for sure.
No, I cannot imagine how they continue to stay at these prices, right? Like there's such a value juxtaposition against even some of the more recent vintages like 2021 and 2022, where they're coming out at these ridiculously high prices, and you just look at the 15 and say, well, why wouldn't I buy that? It's a great vintage and it's so much cheaper, and I can drink it now. 3 liter of 66 Talbot for $500. I actually thought that was pretty reasonable too.
Yeah, so I saw it bought in the warehouse yesterday. So it's kind of, it's the old fashioned kind of shape with the neck. So yeah, that's a neat one.
That one cool. 09 Vue Chateau Sartane for 305. And it's interesting, like I look at that and juxtapose that against the La Consciente, right, which is like half the price, and they're right next to each other. They're both great, right? VCC's great. Is it twice as good as La Consciente? That's a person.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Hard to say. I picked out the 2012 Chateau Beauséjour de Fou La Grosse. We have 2 of those at 70. I thought that was a good deal. 1975 Chateau Trentenoy, 730 milliliter. So, adjust your price accordingly.
I saw that. Yeah.
I didn't even know they did 730 milliliters. We also have the 71 Trentenoy for 790 and the 09 for 305.
Mm-hmm.
1990.
Big difference between 71 and 75, which is quite interesting because the 75 that's a great vintage for that wine. So
yes,
it seems like quite a deal next to the 71. But
well, I think the 71 you get the extra 20 milliliters, and that makes a big difference.
Exactly.
Those 20 milliliters just all the difference in the world. 1998 Chateau Lamondat 3 liter or Lamondeau 3 liter for $750. That did not strike me as a bad deal either.
Yeah, not too bad.
2016 Domaine de Chevalier Blanc for $85.
I thought that was a good deal for that wine. That's just fantastic white Bordeaux, and that's reasonable compared to so many of the others that are so much more than that. So
for sure,
it's a good deal.
2010 Chateau Saint Pierre. We've got three bottles at 3 different price points. You can get it for $85, $90, or $95. So always, word to the wise, this is my reminder, always check to see if there are other lots out there, because I can't tell you how many times.
There might be other lots without bids. The bidding wars, and they don't realize a lot, what they could bid on. With it might even have more bottles in it. You never know. So
yes, and then I'll wrap it up with a 2010 Chateau Montbosquet for $70. What did I miss, Paul, in Bordeaux? What did I miss?
No, you mentioned everything that was on my list as well. There's just a couple other things. I thought 88 Riesec half bottle at 50 was a good deal. And then 89 Riesec 750 at 76 was a fantastic deal. Because both 88 and 90 are amazing vintages. Let's see, 2000 Lynchbach, that came in this week at 245. Let's see, 90 Lafite, which is compared to some of the other superstar vintages. 85 Latour Aubryon popped in at 130. That was pretty interesting. You don't see that wine very often. Some Lafleur Petrus as well, 2000 and 2009. Some 88 and 89 Gruau La Rose caught my eye. A 1 Cheval Blanc as well, that was actually reasonable at 585. A 75 Angelus, again, a weird 730 milliliter. These are in France. I think both these and the Trojan Noir wines are in France and will be here in April. But yeah, that was pretty much it. There was a few bottles of 16 Pavillon Rouge also, which I thought was interesting, for 170. So, it's second label Margaux, but still very, very, very good wine and not tremendously expensive, and from a good vintage. So
let's go through champagne really quickly. All right.
Yeah. There's a ton of it.
1990 mag of 1990 Veuve Clicquot Paul Sardin Le Grand Dame Rosé for $525. I thought that was really cool.
You know what's cool about this bottle too?
What?
At least in the photo, it shows the collaboration they did with Riva, the boat company. And so it actually has this very cool wooden box, but I wasn't sure if this is the box that comes with this lot. So I actually kind of want to go out and check it in the warehouse. But anyway, it's one of those, rare kind of offerings that Veuve Clicquot did, and I remember when this came out, it was kind of a big deal. So, not that it matters if you want the wood box or not, but anyway, it's kind of an interesting collectible just because there aren't that many of these, and it's a phenomenal vintage for the wine.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I was looking at that '04 Bollinger Grande Année mag for $340. I thought that looked pretty cool, as well as this.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
that looked really neat.
Out.
And then also that stuck out to me was the 70 Bollinger RD for $550. I thought that one looked cool. And
it's is it 7? I think it's 75. I think
that's what I said.
75.
That's what I said. 75.
Oh, okay.
75 Bollinger RD. And then
it's like garbage internet connection. I mean,
and that's right. And then the 08 Dolcart Saumon Cuvée Nicolas Francois Brut for $160.
I thought that wasn't terrible. That I didn't think of Dom Perignon. There was a 90 mag too, a couple of them 90 mags. Some Salon 0407. There's some 04 Tattinger Comte Blanc de Blanc. There's Ulysse Collin, Les Maillons, Lanson Noble Cuvée from 02. There's both the Noble Cuvée and then the Blanc de Blanc, which I don't think we've seen very often. So kind of rare ones there. And then some great crude multi-vintage wines, 166 and 169 and 170th edition, 02 and 08 as well. So just killer champagne selection. Salas Rosé. There's Hugues Godmet for 65 for the 2012, which I thought was reasonable. Anyway, there's a Aigli Urier Ratafia for 370. So yeah, a bunch of great champagne in this week.
Awesome. All right.
And yeah,
I think that just about wraps it up.
Any others?
No. With WineBid's finally hammered, this has been Jeff McGurn and Paul Walker wishing you happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.